Well, hello everyone. I am Sadaf Mulai. I am Arrow's chair in the business of food. And today I am joined by Kim Parker. She is the president and CEO of Food Security Structures Canada. And it's a pleasure to have you here. Please tell us about your story, about all the amazing work that you're doing.
Wonderful. Thank you, and thank you very much. And thank you in particular to Evan for bringing this forward and asking me to attend today. I'm very honored to be here today. Food Security Structures Canada is an ag tech company that focuses on controlled environment agriculture. And when we started the company 6 years ago, one of the things that we became aware of, some technology that was coming to market, and it started with the building. A purpose-built structure. We were seeing companies coming to market, particularly tackling the severe climate in the far north, using repurposed structures, largely shipping containers or variations on that. What our concern with that and where we saw the opportunity was to look for a building that was purpose-built, that could handle what was being thrown at it with climate change. And in particular in the north, understanding that if you haven't experienced the far north climate, it's hard to understand how complex that challenge is. If you haven't experienced minus 47, it's hard for someone from a southern state to really understand the complexities of farming in the north. And so my partners and I, we took a look at the technology that was emerging that allowed us to build a building that could handle anything that Mother Nature was throwing at it, generally. So with our structure, we looked at a permanent build that could be earth covered in the right application, that again allowed us to deal with any straight line wind speeds, hurricanes, different things along this nature. We had a semi-permanent build that was on wheels, so if you were in a location where you may have to move after several years, this is not a moving it every weekend thing, but think double wide mobile home that, you know, after being someplace for 3-4 years, you had to relocate someplace else. It gave us that opportunity to do that. And the technology is light enough that we can even deploy on a rooftop or in an urban application. We then took a look at the growing systems that were inside of it. And you can see in the picture one of our farms that we're using a vertical growing wall with the ability to do high density crop growth. We use LED lights that were specifically designed through our company to ensure that we were getting the right light spectrums, that we could adapt the spectrums as needed, but that they were low wattage. And the low wattage was a really important part of that, was that you'll hear often in the marketplace there have been controlled environment agricultural farms that have struggled. Many of the big players down in the States shut down. And when we did some of the research as to what were the challenges that they were experiencing, why were they not successful? And one of the big pieces of that puzzle was the electricity. And we wanted to make sure that we could address that we had the opportunity to go off-grid if it was appropriate, that we had the technology to lower the most expensive item in their budget, and that's the electricity. Before we did that, though, we wanted to have that conversation about more than just lettuce. I like a salad as much as the next person, but we needed our systems to be able to go beyond just leafy greens. And working with our communities, that's the very first conversation that we have. We start with what is it that you want? What is culturally appropriate in your community? What is the right thing that has the ROI that you need in your community as a farmer? What is it that your community actually wants to eat, which addresses food sovereignty? So we start with that very first conversation and then work backwards to make sure our technology can deliver what that community needs. And one of the things that we've developed, and I'm so grateful to, I think we heard earlier mention of the Homegrown Innovation Challenge through the Western Family Foundation. We were honored to work with the team from Western University. Love the folks from Guelph, love working with Western as well. And we were part of the team that focused on agrovoltaics. And we combined our growing system with a solar capture system that allowed us to remove that most expensive line item, that electrical piece. That's what we were able to address with the system. But then we took it beyond that. With that challenge, we focused on strawberries. We've gone beyond that, though, and we're now looking at root vegetables. Now, when you talk about root vegetables, I have to I may put a caveat there. Here in southwestern Ontario, and I'm from Oxford County, shout out, I was going to say, where's our friend from Oxford County, the ag capital, I think, of Canada. Thank you very much. But when we look at that, root vegetables, growing root vegetables in a vertical wall here in southwestern in Ontario, it's not economically viable. I mean, 10 pounds of potatoes are $2 or $3. Some of the communities that I've worked in the north, 5 potatoes were $25. So now root vegetables, the conversation changes. It's also an important item within the diet. When you take a look at our systems, and while leafy greens are still important, what's really key for us as we're moving forward is our farmers. And I'm really honored today to have one of our farmers today. We see our pictures here that we've got up of the team at Bee-Kissed Growers. And I'm honored to have Sarah Van Maar, one of the lead growers from that farm, here with us today. And what we believe in at Food Security Structures Canada is empowering local farmers to feed local communities. That really is going to be the key, we believe, in the future of farming here in Canada, but also around the world. Large-scale farms are important. We've got to have big farms to do some of the farming we do, and I know they're part of a big commercial family farm. But understanding that local farmers have a key role to play with that. And we need to bring our technology forward, and what we focus on is empowering that local farmer to grow the crops that are needed in their community, and especially the crops that are most vulnerable to climate change. So the ones that we can bring inside, grow all year long, stabilize the food production, and help those farmers make sure that their community is able to access the food that they're looking for going forward. I think, again, when we're looking at those farmers, making sure they've got the tools that they need to be successful. And that's what we look to our ag tech for. We look to our innovators, our engineers, our agronomists to have that technology to make their farms successful.
Thank you so much. And it's really great that you are talking about empowering the farmers in addition to providing them with the technology that we require to make that transition. So with that, what is your vision for the future of what you're doing?
Yeah, I think when we're looking into the future and what does Food Security Structures Canada look like going forward, for us it's refining the growing protocols. So the strawberry growth that we learned, understanding that technology and how best to create the happy place for that very important crop to be successful. To expand to additional crops, we're doing a lot of work with the symbiotic relationship between mushrooms and leafy greens. And shout out to my partner, Kemp Edwards, who was able to join us here today from White Rock, BC. It was leading a team in downtown Vancouver growing mushrooms and leafy greens together in that relationship. So again, removing that carbon footprint of having to transport long distances, utilizing space to maximize that growth, and looking for those opportunities. The buildings that we're working with, it's key that they can handle what Mother Nature is throwing at us. So we are actually working on a project down in the Caribbean. And I love it when I ask my potential project partner in the location, I'm like, tell me about your location. What are the challenges that we might face? And they're like, okay, we get hurricanes, we get drought, we sometimes has pests, and oh, by the way, we're on an earthquake fault. I'm like, awesome, what, is there anything else that you aren't facing? And then we're working with our engineers, with our buildings, saying, this is what we're dealing with. We need the technology then to address that. And we're going beyond those leafy greens, which is really exciting. We're actually getting drawn into projects that involve animals. That being able to address food stability using our buildings and our technology to grow fodder, to feed animals, to capture the energy from the sun, it all works together. And it's that symbiosis. I think, just finally, I know we're a little on to over time here, but I've got to give a shout out to Wayne. We were talking about policy. And how can policy support us as we're going forward? And the biggest thing that I see that we need to see is policy changes that supports early adopters of this technology. As innovators and our farmers who jump on board and see the opportunity here, they need the government, they need the safety net to be able to say, if we're willing to take this risk, we need your help in making sure that we're not going to lose our shirts along the way. So to me, that's the biggest thing, is how can we reward and support these farmers who are ready to innovate and ready to lead the charge?
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to chat with you and hear about all the wonderful work that you're doing. Please join me in a round of applause to thank Kim and all the other innovators on this panel.